How's it going, guys? My name is Stone, and I'm here today to talk about another album. I hope you guys like my new setup. It's a little more comfortable, easier to talk when you're sitting down, and easier to show the vinyl when you're not holding it. Am I right? Today, I'm going to be talking about an album that I think doesn't get a lot of recognition in the Pink Floyd community, even though this might be some of their strangest yet finest moments in their career. I'm talking about Adam Hart Mother. This is not a late, an early 80s repressing I have of the record. And it's nice, it works, but I really wish it didn't have the title on it. It really kills the album cover for me. I was thinking about once this quarantine ends, I would go to my local record store and sell this and try to use that money to get the latest pressing. If that means it's got good sound quality and doesn't have the title. This was released in 1970 and was the band's fifth studio release. And while some members of the band hate to acknowledge this album to be part of their existence, I find it to be on par with albums such as Animals and Dark Side, and it has a lot of underrated tracks from the band. I'll even go as far as to say that this is my fourth favorite album by them. I mean, everything on here is pretty interesting. It really pulls you in, especially the album cover alone. Just that sweet, simple picture of a cow that, strangely enough, represents the music on here so well. I remember diving headfirst into this album without any expectations, as I had only heard songs like Wish You Were Here and Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, and I was really interested to know what Pink Floyd's music really was. And honestly, I think this was the perfect place to start. I think this doesn't really resonate with their early years or their successful years. Kind of sticks out like a sore thumb, but still contains some of their most underrated tracks. This album only contains 5 songs on it, but the title track alone, the first track as well, clocks in about 24 minutes long, so there's a lot to digest on here, especially on that track alone. It's often referred to be the centerpiece of the album, and that's rightfully so. This song contains some of the most beautiful, soothing, frightening, progressive music of the early 70s. And it's all rolled into one big suite. As I did in my last video, I'll be going into detail about each track, as each song on here is somewhat distant from one another. And so to begin, Adam Hart Mother begins with the monstrous title track and is split into 6 movements, which is Father Shout, Breast Milky, Mother's 4, Funky Dung, Mind Your Throat Please, like right now, and Reemergence. The way it opens up is with Father Shout, and it begins with this like horn work just rising from the silence, and I really think it starts this song as well as this album on such a powerful note. I mean, that blaring chorus that comes in 30 seconds or a minute in just shows how classical yet modern Pink Floyd was able to be at that time. The band continues to experiment with strange sounds on here, such as engines running, horses neighing, and sounds of gunfire. These noises begin to take over the piece as the suite continues, but quickly moves into the second movement, Breast Milky. And Breast Milky has some really nice organ, violin, and guitar work on here, and really washes away all the antics of the first movement that just unfolded. The falsetto that haunts the next section, Mother's 4, is so easy to get lost in and displays how many styles Pink Floyd was able to transition into in a matter of minutes. Uh, the singing continues to build up with other vocalists and begins to be backed up by some of Nick Mason's best drum fills, in my opinion. It seems like he's really playing his heart out on here, which makes the drumming sound pretty honest, if you could call music that is. Funky Dung then comes in with a groovy beat found on every instrument, especially the guitar. I think this is the first moment where David Gilmour really begins to shine as his own. I mean, I like his work on A Saucer Full of Secrets and more, but I feel like this is the very first moment we hear that classic Gilmour sound that he's famously known for. on their more successful albums. The incoherent chanting that follows soon after really elevates what music can be on here and gives you a taste in how different Pink Floyd was from other bands of the 70s and 60s. Mind Your Throat, Please then takes this elevation even further with its avant-garde, or this creepy avant-garde section, which is carried by like these weird tape effects and Richard Wright's organ work. It eventually comes to a halt and begins to sample several movements that were previously heard, just to come crashing down on this epic final movement, which is Reemergence, one of my favorites on this suite. While I understand why people find this to be a bit slow, and this is when the song begins to really like get boring, I really think it concludes the album very well and ties everything together on such a grand note. It's just such a beautiful song, and for 23 or 24 minutes, it really doesn't get boring. I'll even, well, this may be a bit divisive, but I even think that this song is better than Echoes. I mean, I feel like there's a lot more on here to admire, and there's never a dull moment on here. It's probably, in my opinion, their most underrated track of all time. If I only had to recommend one song to check out from this album, it's definitely the title track. Whew. Okay, we got through that one. But now it's time for the second side, which is honestly just as beautiful and a strong way to follow up that suite, with the first song being If by Roger Waters. I think it's very soothing and is the best way to follow up that crazy suite that just unfolded in the beginning. It's very lovely, it's very delicate, and it gets more lovely once Gilmore is given a chance to shine again with his guitar work. I've actually been trying to practice If on the guitar, but I'm not able to keep up with Roger Waters yet, so I'm gonna keep practicing. Richard Wright's track, Summer 68, also has to be one of Pink Floyd's most underrated tracks. Definitely his best track out of everything he's put into Pink Floyd. Just it's a very beautiful yet progressive song. I mean, the vocals, the snappy drums, the brass instruments that we're seeing on the title track help create this uplifting song that really just goes well with its title, Summer. It just reminds me of summertime or being in the sunshine. Uh, One of my favorite songs. Aside from Adam Hart Mother, Summer 68 is also one of their most underrated tracks. Uh, this track is then followed up by Gilmore's piece, Fat Old Son, which concludes this three normal size song list on such a relaxing note. I mean, I just like his whispering vocals. The drums on this track are also very good, and the airy sound effects just really tie or I don't know close these three songs together very well. And I don't know, I feel like even though they kind of have a Beatles sound to them, I feel like it goes well. And Pink Floyd really still shine no matter how they're working with or without each other. Now, if you thought that the title track might be some of the strangest music you've ever heard, well, then maybe the final track on here, Alan's Psychedelic Breakfast, may compete for that spot. Uh, this was primarily written by Nick Mason, but was credited to everyone in the band. And what's so unique about this track is the recurring vocals that a man named Alan shares, which he's giving us basically what you would call an ASMR today. It features him chewing, cooking, talking, and other household noises that are surrounded by honestly some of the most gorgeous instrumentals or gorgeous instrumentals that are found on this album. I mean, it really shows how talented Nick Mason really is at everything besides drumming and just creating a weird song. I think it helps make this album stand out far much more than without it. Like already the title track is pretty weird and the three songs in the middle are really good. I think they fit the album well. They make it a bit more normal, but then you end it with this piece and you're just like, "What?" Like I feel like if you try to give this album context, like a story, you're not going to get anywhere. It's just a you're just gonna get lost. And there we have it. I mean, all the thoughts I had regarding this beautiful album. It's my second review on this channel. Glad you've chosen. I'm glad to have chosen, sorry, this album because I feel like there's so much music on here to listen to and really admire, which makes it easier to write about and talk about. If you haven't listened to this album yet, might I recommend you do. It's very life changing, honestly. Not even knowing albums like Dark Side of the Moon and Animals yet, which other albums I love. I remember just being blown away by the fact. I mean, I haven't begun listening to like long songs until I met Adam Hart Mother, but yeah, honestly, it's a game changer. You really don't know what to. Oh, the first song at least, you don't know what to expect, and that's what I love about it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought. Let me know your favorite song on here. I'm curious because I like knowing how many people either say one song or if it's, I don't know. There's a variety of answers. Just let me know. All right. Have a good day, guys, and stay safe. Wash your hands.